Whether the team is performing clean or unsightly, we'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So look, it's week 7. Washington's 1-5. Dallas is 2-4. The records may not indicate this, but it's a big game. And I'm going to tell you exactly why it's a big game, and it's a big game for several reasons. Now, one, it's Dallas. That goes without saying. For some of us, that means something. For some of us, it doesn't. And look, Dallas week doesn't hold the same luster, and it doesn't hold the same weight that it once did. I understand that. And specifically this season with COVID and no fans in the stands, and now you add into the mix the funk of this division, it definitely lessens the impact of what Dallas versus Washington means. For some, the fact that this team is no longer called the Redskins and it's not the Cowboys-Redskins rivalry anymore, that means a lot too. So all of these things allows this game and this week to take on a different meaning. I understand all of those things and all the different dynamics that go into what Dallas week has meant for so many years and what it means or doesn't mean this year. But take all of those things, move them aside. If you just look at this game, one, it's Dallas. I don't give a shit if we're called the Red Warriors, the Red Wolves, the Sentinels. I don't give a shit what we're called. It's still Dallas, okay? They're still the Cowboys, and I still hate them and want to beat them more than any other team in this division. Period. End of discussion. So that's number one. Number two, yes, we're 1-5. Yes, they're 2-4. Yes, Philly is 1-3-1 or 1-4-1. And yes, or I think I said it right the first time. 1-3-1. 1-4-1. I said it right the second time. And the Giants are 1-5. But this division is up for grabs, as I just mentioned. And 2-4 versus 1-5 means the winner of this game is going to more likely than not either be in first place, tied for first place, or you're going to be literally a half game out of first place. So this game, large implications. Lastly, and this is for the crowd that doesn't want this team to win, that wants to go 1-15 and tank, which I absolutely hate that entire concept. I don't even like talking about it. For that portion of the fan base, for that sector of the family that wants to draft Trevor Lawrence, that thinks that's the end-all be-all, if we can get our hands on one of these big-time quarterbacks, if we can just get to Trevor Lawrence, he'll fix everything, which is just preposterous to me. If you've watched this organization over the last 20 years, then you would know that one guy, even though if he is what you think he is, he could, because we've seen Peyton Manning and we've seen guys like Kurt Warner do it to other downtrodden franchises. I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is that guy. I still have my doubts. That's nor here nor there. For that sector of the fan base that thinks that 1-15 and Trevor Lawrence is the only way out of the mess that we've created for ourselves, you want us to lose this game. It's a big game for you too. Because to me, this game signifies the rest of the season. If you lose this game to Dallas, you drop to 1-6, Dallas goes to 3-4. For all intents and purposes, in my mind, this division's over. For us, at least. Now, the Eagles and the Giants, depending on the outcome of their game, they'll still have an opportunity. The Eagles haven't even seen Dallas once this season, so the Eagles are much more in play than we are if we lose this game. The Giants, they've lost to Dallas already. If they lose on Thursday night, they're pretty much dead too, especially if Dallas beats us. But Philly, no matter what happens, they've got a shot because they play Dallas twice and they have a tie on their side, which is better than a loss. So they own kind of that little difference there where if that were a loss, they'd be right in the mix with the rest of us. Well, that tie separates them from the rest of the division right now. If all things are equal and you throw in the tie, Philly gets the nod. So I said all of that to say this. This game is massive if you want to have a season moving forward. If you're a fan out there and you want these games to mean something moving forward, this game is massive. Because if you lose to Dallas in week 7, Go into your bye week, come out of the bye, and you're 1-6. It's hard to fathom us getting hot. And I've already talked about what it's going to take for whomever wins this division, what it's going to take for them to get it done. You're going to have to go no worse than 4-2 in the division or 5-1. No worse than 4-2 though. You either want to go 4-2, 5-1, or 6-0. Well, 6-0 isn't a possibility for us because we lost to the Giants. 5-1 is still on the table. 4-2 is probably more likely than not for us. Even if we beat Dallas, I can't see us sweeping the rest of the division. That being said, if you put yourself in a position where you're 1-2 in the division and you have to win every other divisional game just to have a chance, I don't see it happening. We got to go to Philly still in week 17. Who knows what their team will be in week 17? They may be done and out of it, and Carson Wentz may not even be playing by week 17 for all we know. By week 17, I'd like to think that this division will be sewn up. Someone will have won this thing by week 17 because this division stinks. So if someone decides to get on their horse and giddy up and run away, which more likely than not it would be Dallas if anyone, then I'd like to think that week 17 is going to be insignificant for most of the teams in the division, except for maybe, well, really, I think all the teams, because no one else is getting a wild card or anything like that. So anyway, I digress. I got off topic for a second. We got to go to Philly. We're going to have to go to Dallas after this. And the only team we play at home remaining on the schedule in the division is the Giants. And we do that right after the bye week. So essentially what I'm saying to you is if we don't beat Dallas here, we drop to 1-2 in the division, 1-6 overall, but more importantly, Dallas advances to 3-4 on the season. And with that, Dallas now has a full 2-game, and no team in this division has had a 2-game cushion on anybody. No one has jumped ahead of the rest of the division by a full 2 games yet. Dallas has an opportunity to do that if they beat us. If they do that, we fall 2 games behind Dallas. Not to mention, they own the tiebreaker over us, so that essentially makes it 2.5 games. If they beat us the next time they see us on Thanksgiving, that would make it whatever it is at that point. Whether we get hot or whatever, they would own the tiebreaker over us. You can't be in a position where someone owns a sweep over you in the division this season. And our best chance to beat Dallas is at home. If you think we're just going to show up on Thanksgiving because they're having all of these issues and infighting and people snitching in the locker room and coaches not doing their jobs, if you think they're going to implode and not beat us on Thanksgiving, you got another thing coming, okay? For as bad as they are right now, we're just as bad. And they've got more talent than we do, and they've got less injuries than we do, and thus they are technically still the better team, despite what anybody tells you. Their offense is capable of scoring 40. Ours is not. That should be scary to you because our defense hasn't shown the ability to stop teams from scoring 30 plus this season, especially when the offense is turning it over and the offense isn't sustaining drives and they're not putting any points on the board. So if you think we're just going to trollop into this game and Dallas is going to lay down for us and Zeke Elliott's going to fumble it 2 or 3 times and Andy Dalton's going to throw an interception or 2 and they're just going to lay down and we're going to find a way to win this game, 30-10, you're sadly mistaken. Sadly mistaken. So this is a massive game because if you lose this game, for me, for all intents and purposes, the season's done. You're not going to catch Dallas. You're not just going to magically get hot. This isn't 2012 and you come off the bye week and magically you run off 7 straight. If we lose this game, we are done. And now you start having the conversation of, okay, maybe you guys are right. Maybe we are a top 5 pick team. Maybe we won't win more than 3 or 4 games this season. That's when I start acknowledging that maybe you guys are right and I was wrong. You have to win this game if you're Washington. This is a must-win game. This is essentially code red for the season. I always talk about wanting meaningful games in November, and it'd be nice to just get to November and still be playing games that matter. Well, this is the game that's going to determine whether we get to November playing meaningful football because we have a bye week, and when we come off the bye, it'll be our first game in November. If we want that game against the Giants at home to matter, we need to win this game late October. If we don't win this game, that game against the Giants in week 8 or in week 9, won't mean a damn thing. We'll just be playing for fun at that point. So this is a big time game. All of you talking about trade deadline moves, you don't win this game, to hell with the trade deadline, okay? You don't need to be trading for anybody, and you don't need to be trading anybody away unless it's Dwayne Haskins or Ryan Kerrigan or someone like that. But at the end of the day, this game has that kind of ramifications and implications to it. You lose this game, your season's done. You're playing for 2021 at that point. You win this game, and there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of hope. Let's get to in other news. So, Ron Rivera stepped to the podium. So did Jack Del Rio, our defensive coordinator. We'll talk about what was said between those two. But first, as we normally do, let's get to another closer look where we take a look at the injury reports for this week and see who's practicing and what are the prospects for guys playing in the upcoming week for both teams. So you look at this list, and again, we've got a laundry list of guys on this list. It seemed to have shrunk a week ago. We're back to where we normally are, which is about 7 to 10 guys. Meanwhile, Dallas is just got 3 guys on their injury list. Now, granted, I don't think 2 of those guys are going to play on Sunday for Dallas, but you can say the same thing for us. We got a bunch of guys on this list, and a lot of these guys aren't going to play on Sunday. So let's go through this list quickly. Sadiq Charles, not going to play. Got the knee injury. We talked about the dislocated kneecap. Not going to see him probably until after the bye. And I'm thinking not even the Giants game, but rather the week after that. I believe it is I think it's the Bengals. I think that's the first time he probably comes into play for us, but he's definitely not playing in this game. Ronald Darby was out of practice yesterday with an illness. He was back today, full participant, nothing to worry about there. As a matter of fact, I won't even consider him a guy that we need to concern ourselves with. Antonio Gandy Golden told you that he pulled a hammy on Sunday, and when it first happened, I told you, look, we haven't gotten an official diagnosis, but look, I didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn, but I've watched plenty of football. I know a hammy when I see one. I told you he pulled his hammy. Don't know the level of strain of his hamstring, but I can tell you this much. I've never seen a guy pull a hammy and come back and play the following week. Never. So he's not playing this week. And so hopefully the bye week does him some good, and maybe he'll be ready to come back and rock and roll week 9 against the Giants after the bye week, but you won't see Antonio Gandy Golden in this game. James Smith-Williams suffered a concussion in last week's game, did not know that, and he is going to be out for this game, more likely than not. Logan Thomas has sustained a neck injury, didn't know he did that either. However, he was a full participant after not practicing on Wednesday. I expect Logan Thomas to go. The goal here, if you're nicked, just get to the bye week. That's the goal for all the guys dealing with nicks and bumps and bruises, is if you can go, just go and get through this game, and then you'll have a full 2 weeks to get your body back to where you can go for the stretch run of the season. So that's why it's imperative that you have this mid-season bye and kind of split it in half. When you get this, that's why you got to take advantage of a season like this where you got a week 8 bye, splits the season in half essentially. You got to take advantage of it because it's the perfect bye where you get to kind of split the season into halves. You get to recuperate your body, regenerate it, and then you get to go for that stretch run. So Thomas is going to play this week, barring any kind of setback. Isaiah Wright, not going to play. And I told you we didn't know his status last show. I said, look, the big day for him is going to be Thursday because if no one practices on Wednesday if they've got an injury. If they're banged up a little bit, take Wednesday off. Just kind of soak in this game plan as we do installation on Wednesday. Thursday, we need you back on the practice field. He wasn't on the practice field yesterday. Didn't expect him to be. But he's not there today either, which tells me he's not playing. All right. And we still don't even really know the severity of his injury. I still haven't heard technically what it is. Is it a stinger? Did he strain something? Did he dislocate his shoulder? We don't even know. I haven't heard anything about his injury. However, it's a shoulder, and he's not going to play in week number 7 versus the Cowboys. Chase Young was limited in practice yesterday with a groin. He was a full participant today. I don't worry about Chase. He'll be fine. We just got to get him through to the bye week, and if we do, I think he'll be on a tear on the second half of the season. And then Jaron Christian, this was a surprise. This cropped up today where he all of a sudden he's got a knee. I'm worried about this. He did not practice today. Now, Rivera said at his presser that they were just being precautious with Christian and that his knee was troubling him a bit. They just wanted to give him a Veterans Day off. He'll be fine and he'll be back on the practice field tomorrow. That's what Ron said. But I'm listening to the members of the media and they said this guy was really hobbling around, and so I'm a little nervous. This isn't the week to not have your left tackle. That being said, we'll see and we'll keep our eyes on Jaron Christian. I don't trust him, and you know why. He's got 2 first names. So I'm a little leery of what this guy's going to be able to provide for us on Sunday. Hopefully he plays because we cannot afford any more issues along the offensive line. Meanwhile, for Dallas, the first 2 guys along their offensive line not going to play, I don't think. Brandon Knight suffered a knee injury in the game on Monday, did not return to the game then. And Zach Martin sustained a concussion. Ezekiel Elliott kneed him in the helmet. He didn't return to the game. I don't think either one of those guys are going to play, personally. I think they're really going to be decimated along their offensive line as if they weren't already decimated enough. I think you're going to add Zach Martin to the list of guys that are banged up along that offensive line and can't go. And so now you're talking about 3 out of the 5 offensive linemen that they started the season with not in the lineup in this game. And you could argue for it because they thought Travis Frederick was going to be one of their guys, and he retired. So their offensive line is in shambles. We need to be able to take advantage of that. Alden Smith, however, has a neck injury. He was limited today after not practicing on Wednesday. I surmise he'll be able to play on Sunday. We'll keep an eye on him as well. So we get back to in other news, and Ron stepped to the podium today, talked about some of his decisions. I thought he was much better at the podium today, a lot more shorter with his answers, wasn't as loquacious as he had been earlier. He reiterated some things. And so I thought it was a much stronger press conference. Not that I really give a damn, honestly. I told you. And it was a really pertinent question in there thrown at him by John Kine, where he pretty much said, is the message that you give us different from the message that you give to your players? And remember, I said this on the show last night, that as long as his message to the players is getting through and it's consistent and they understand it, that's all I care about. What he tells us, what he tells the media, and it's all convoluted and he's talking in circles and we're not quite sure, is the message consistent? I could give 2 shits about that. As long as the players get what he's trying to do, and it seems like they do. Every time I hear the players speak, they're saying the same things, which usually means what you're saying is getting through and it's resonating. As long as that's happening, I could really care less about what he's telling us in the media and him talking in circles and is he contradicting himself. I care less about any of that shit. As long as the players understand the message and they're all on one accord, I'm good. And so it sounds like that's the case. He was a lot more concise today. Hopefully it stays that way. I won't bank on that, but I thought Ron was a lot better in his presser today. He talked about some of the guys like Robert, what's the receiver from Buffalo that had that big season and then we got from the Packers practice squad. I think I got his name here somewhere. See if I can find it real quick. It's Robert something. Yikes. Let's see. I'm going to look it up real quick. Washington takes Packers practice squad receiver. That should give me what I'm looking for. Let's see. Robert Foster is his name. He talked about Robert Foster and how he won't be prepared to play in this week's game. I told you guys that. And he even went as far as to say, even if he was here, he wouldn't have been ready, which is the same thing I told you guys. And I think I might have specifically told that to the guys and gals in the chat on Flick. If you're not on Flick in the community, what are you waiting on? Become a part of the MOBB. Stand up, Mob Squad. We in the building. I was telling them that it doesn't matter if they get him onto the team this week. He wasn't going to be able to help because he doesn't know what to do. That's why a guy like Jeff Badette and the Tony Brown guy from Colorado, those guys can help because they've been on the practice squad for this entire time. Now, just because you're on the practice squad doesn't mean you're taking active reps. Normally, you're helping with the preparation for the week against the upcoming opponent because you're running that other team's plays as a practice squad member. But still, I knew he wasn't going to be able to help. But Jeff Badet is a guy that I'm interested in, and he can run. And so that's a guy that I want to see if they just find creative ways to just get him involved. It's not hard to get a guy with 4.27 speed involved. Terry McLaurin even said, hey, I thought I was fast. But he's like, Jeff is next level fast. You know, he's a true 0 to 60 guy like that. And so I don't race. Terry said, look, I don't race guys anymore. I just say, check my resume, you know, check the 40 time and it is what it is. But Jeff, he's like, no, Jeff Badet is ridiculously fast. I like hearing that. I already knew that. Now we need to see it on the field, whether it's a jet sweep, whether it's a wide receiver screen, whether it's a 9-ball and you stretch the football field vertically. I need to see him touch it in some capacity where he's got a chance out in the open space to do something. Anyway, Ron talked about some adjustments that need to be made. And whether it's this week, he said they're going to self-scout during the bye, which is what teams often do, is self-assess, self-scout, look at the things they did well, try to build upon those, look at the things they didn't do well, try to improve upon those. And, you know, one of the things he talked about defensively, third downs, need to be better there. Offensively, he said he'd like to run the ball more effectively. We're averaging like 3.2 yards a carry right now, which is not nearly good enough. And so, yeah, obviously he's like, you know, we're behind in games, and so we're not in a great position to run. But we got to be better when we do run it, and that's a fact. And there's no debating that. So I thought it was a good presser from Ron. As we got to Jack, this was the most colorful Jack Del Rio presser we've seen. He was a comedian during his presser today. I had a couple of really light moments that were really funny. The one that I liked the most was when he was asked by Matthew Paris of the Washington Post, or the Washington Times, excuse me, about juice, because that's a reference that Del Rio uses quite often. In this particular press conference, he said that DeShazer Everett, and he calls them Shays, and so do I, but he said Shays gave and Cole Holcomb both gave the defense some juice. Liked what those guys did. I told you, and I broke that down for you in the film. I told you, DeShazer plays with a level of energy that this defense lacks. I like his aggressiveness. Sometimes he's over-aggressive. It gets him into trouble, as we saw in the game where he got the 15-yard penalty on Daniel Jones. However, I love that aggressiveness. I love his demeanor, and I love how he plays the game. And obviously, Del Rio agrees and feels the same way. And so he said, yes, Shays and Holcomb gave us some juice. And to which Paris said, you know, what exactly is juice? And Jack said, look, man, if you don't know what juice is, I'm not going to explain it to you. You don't get it, and I'm not going to try to explain it to you. And so, you know, Paris tried to, well, I know what juice is. You just use it all the time. I wanted to know if there was a specific, you know, these guys, these media members, when they ask questions sometimes, like, I'm just like, why? Why did you feel the need to ask that? That was one of those, really, dude? But Jack straightened them out in a fun, you know, colorful way. And then Jack got loud and he was like, I'm giving you juice right now. And so that was funny, to which JP Philly said that's the best moment of the season thus far. And it's in terms of a media and coach press conference engagement type of standpoint, yeah, that was by far and away my favorite to this point of the season. So Jack talked about the guys needing to be better. I love Jack because they keep at some point you would think they learn, but you know, I guess as a media member, I've never been a media member, so I guess there's certain questions you feel like you need to ask. And look, I guess it's just like that same relationship you have with your parents when you're a kid. Even if you think they're going to say no, you still ask. What's the worst they're going to say? No, right? So you still ask anyway. You hope that maybe he gives you something, you know, and I think that's what they're doing. They're asking him questions that they already know the answers to. Jack's not going to give you anything. For instance, they asked him, well, you know, you're going up against And I think it was Rhiannon Walker of the Athletics. He says, "Well, Jack, you're going up against Andy Dalton this week, and so I wanted to know if you were, showing them film from Cincinnati, or showing them film." And it might not have been Rhiannon, but I'm doing my best Rhiannon Walker voice. And are you going to show them Dallas film? And what are some different things you're going to try to do to take Andy away? Because he's not Dak Prescott and he's Andy Dalton, and there's some different things that he does. What are some of the specific things you're going to do to try to take Andy Dalton away? That's a specific game plan question. Jack's not giving you anything there. And Jack always says the same thing. Well, that's game plan specific, so I'm not going to get into that. But I will say he's a very capable quarterback. He's a veteran. He's been in this league for quite some time. They got a lot of talent on that football team. Jack had already went down the list of guys that scared the hell out of him, including their backup running back, who I told you was really good in Pollard. And he said, look, they got a lot of talent. Andy's good enough to get it done. And we're going to have to, do our best to try to stop him. You're not getting nothing out of Jack. So you could just, don't waste your time even asking, but I get it. You got a job to do, and you're going to do it. But I thought Jack was awesome as always. He talked about, some of the differences with, bringing some guys in and some of the changes that were made. But he so far, so good. He likes what he's seen to this point from the defense. They just need to be better in certain areas. And I honestly, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I don't think we're going to clean up some of the issues of this team until the offseason. When you upgrade some of these positions, you just can't do it right now. For instance, linebacker, I don't think there's much you can do at this point. You don't have anybody that can step in and help you. Don't talk to me about Khaleke Hudson. Khaleke Hudson isn't ready to step in and give you anything. He hasn't been taking any reps. He's not ready to step in. And we don't have another middle linebacker, really, that they feel comfortable putting the green dot on his helmet and having him get the defense lined up. You're going to have to take John Bostic for the remaining, 9 games of the season. It is what it is. So he's not going anywhere, or 10 games of the season. So I think there are certain things you just are going to have to live with. He talked about Landon Collins and said, look, bottom line is we all need to be better. He didn't single anybody out. When they asked him about the big run for Daniel Jones, he said, I need to be better. He didn't even put that on anybody, even though that was Landon Collins' fault. I showed you that in the film. That was all Landon Collins on the 49-yard Daniel Jones run. But he said, look, that's me. I got to be better. And he said, when it comes to us coaching up these players, we can't be in the mindset of, oh, I told that guy. Well, obviously, Jack says, well, obviously he didn't get it. So you need to explain to him and make him understand what he is supposed to do and what he's responsible for on that particular snap. So, there are some things that need to be cleaned up, as Jack always says, and he's right. But I don't know if you can clean up all of those things because of the players that you have on the team. And I think that's something that I think he is kind of starting to come around to. Like, I just don't know if these guys can do it or not. But, you continue to coach and you hope the green light, the light bulb comes on. He did also say, however, that turnovers and sacks come in bunches. And he says, and he's right about that. And that's why I said when people talk about, oh, Chase Young's not doing this, not doing that, you watch the film, you see his impact. I said the sacks will come. They will come. When you're talented like he is, they'll come. And like he said, they come in bunches. Hopefully the sacks and the turnovers start to come in bunches. Maybe they start coming this week. It'd be nice. We need them. Big time. Anyway, let's get to behind enemy lines really quickly. And really, this is just a precursor to whet your palate for tomorrow when we really dive into this matchup versus Dallas. So Dallas coming into this game is banged up just like we are. The offensive line is in shambles, but they still have all of their real big-time weaponry on the offensive side of the football. Still got all 3 of their wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup. Gallup seems to be, along with Cooper really, seem to be Washington killers. So we got to watch those guys. But CeeDee Lamb has been playing exceptional. He might be the best of the group right now, and he might lead the team in receiving. He's playing really well for a rookie. So for a group that has struggled to stop big plays, that should scare you. Just those guys by themselves. Zeke Elliott has been struggling, but don't think for 1 second that he won't break out on us if we're not careful. He's been having issues holding on to the ball. Well, we don't force fumbles, so I don't think he's going to fumble this game, personally. So that's something else to watch out for. Andy Dalton, the good thing about Andy being in the lineup is that he's not running anywhere. With Dak, that was always a problem for us. We'd bottle Dak up, and somehow we'd get out of the pocket and escape and run for 15 yards on 3rd and 12 and break our back. or we think we got Dak and he get out of there and he run for a touchdown on 3rd and 8. We don't have to worry about that with Andy Dalton. So normally where Andy lines up, we know where his address is. We know where to find him. If we need to get to him, we can address the letter to get to him. And we know where his mailbox is and where to find him. So Andy not moving is a big plus for us, not having to deal with Dak. That's a good thing. Defensively for Dallas, they're a mess. But they can still get after the quarterback if you're not going to protect. Now, we've been pretty solid protecting this season, but we've had some breakdowns. And when you add in the fact that Jaron Christian isn't feeling his best right now, and Wes Schweitzer is playing a different position. He's been playing right guard all season. Now he's at left guard. We saw the breakdown that we had on the fumble in a crucial situation last week where there was a lack of communication between the tackle and the guard because they haven't played next to one another. These things can affect you. The Cowboys do have talent. All right, they do have Aldon Smith, who I think is going to play. I just talked about him being injured. I think he's going to play. They do have DeMarcus Lawrence, who has been a Washington killer in the past. And they also do have Everson Griffin, who is uber talented. They do have talent all up and down that defensive line. They still have Jalen Smith. They still have Leighton Vander Esch, who came back last week. They still have all of these guys that are super talented. All right, don't think for 1 second that if we're not on our P's and Q's, Y's and Z's, they won't take advantage of us, because they will. So there's a lot of things that we still have to do. They've been giving up big plays. Well, we don't get big plays. So something has to give. They've been giving up 36 points a game through the first 6. Well, we haven't scored 30 all season long. So again, something has to give. I don't really love the matchup, to be honest with you, because we still haven't proven that we can take care of the ball, that we can sustain offense and score afterwards in touchdowns, not field goals. And then when we get opportunities to kick field goals, we're missing them. And then we haven't proven that we can go a full game without giving up a big play at some point. We've been gutted and gashed all season long. We haven't been able to produce any big plays of our own. There's just a lot of things that you look at the Cowboys and you say, man, they've been giving this up, they've been giving that up. And all I'm saying is, well, we haven't been getting any of those things. So why do you think it's going to change this week just because Dallas isn't good at stopping those things, or they're allowing these things? It's not a good matchup. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't love this matchup, but it's a very, very winnable football game. So we'll talk more about it. We'll get specific tomorrow. But just know, this is no pushover here. This is a game that Dallas, again, we're looking at them like food. They're looking at us like food. Same thing last week. Giants were looking at us like food. We were looking at the Giants like food. And guess who got to eat? The Giants did. So if we're not careful, it'll be the same exact thing this week. But I digress. I'm going to get out of here. I thank you guys for joining me on Washington Football Nightly. Remember, if it's not your man T, it's not, I repeat, not the best NFL coverage. It could be. If you're not in the community, the link is down in the description below this video and every video that I do. Become a member of the Mob Squad, MOBB Stand Up. We are in the building as always. Look forward to chopping it up with you guys tonight. Thursday Night Football, Giants, Eagles will be live. I'll create a chat for that, and we'll be live during that game watching the NFC East family business take place and commemorate. So I look forward to chopping it up with you guys tonight as well as Sunday. And I look forward to you guys leaving your comments in the comment section of this video. And look forward to chopping it up with you guys again tomorrow as well. And if you want to join me later after the game, I'll be there as well live as we break down Giants and Eagles tonight on the Overtime Series. Until then, you guys take care. I'm your man, Louie T, and this has been Washington Football Nightly. See you next time.
Here comes the Diesel. Here comes the Diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins, good hold, he's got the first down to the 40, he's gone, the 35, the 30, the 20, he's gone, he's gone!